if I should be doing this. Oh no. I'm popping an energy drink. I don't need it. I don't need it. Oh man. For those of you new, I'm Dan. I'm here to talk football. That's why the show's called Dan Talks Football. It is Draft Central here. I've been obsessed with the NFL draft. I'm a draft junkie. My latest video, it's a 2-round mock draft with trades. It's one of the best videos I've ever made. One of the best videos I've ever made. I encourage you to check it out. I encourage you to check it out. As a longtime Chiefs fan, I'm subscribed to a lot of Chiefs social media, and when it was announced Carson Wentz signed with the Chiefs, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I really did. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. However, yeah. Funk says draft preview, huh? I mean, it was all right. It was fantastic. It was fantastic, Funk. I'm kind of surprised the Lions fans didn't like it, because you get two really good players. Two really good players. And I also liked Nealon, the Diet Aiden Hutchinson reference, Western Michigan, versus Michigan. But yeah, I'm a little surprised. I was surprised. It was a great video. Great video. Red Sea Corey. Yeah, you didn't think to trade up for Verse, but I just saw a mock draft where Verse goes top 10, so you get him at 20. I was really curious what you thought about pick number, was it 35 or 30? It's 35, which you keep, even though I got you trading up for Verse. Pick number 35, you get drawing a blank on the kid's name, Martin, I believe. No, it's not Martin. Drawing a complete blank. More likely to play center, play guard out of West Virginia, but you get interior line help. So you get Marvin Harrison Jr., Verse, who there's a lot of mock drafts that have him going in top. Frazier, that's his name, Frazier. You get Jared Verse, who I've seen going in top 10, and you by the way, you don't lose any draft picks. You just flip first and thirds, and you still got all 3 third-round picks. You just have them later in the draft. So Zach Frazier out of West Virginia. So you shore up your offensive line. You shore up your pass. You immediately improve your pass rush, and then you get who some people think is the best receiver in the draft. There's a lot more debate on the best receiver in the draft. There's a lot more debate on who's the best receiver in the draft than I really thought there would be. So, but I really thought, I was surprised you didn't like to trade up for Verse. The Trek Reviewer, what's up, brother? Man, I just popped the energy drink. I don't need it. I don't know why I did it. If you haven't had a chance, check out my 2-round mock draft with trades. I really also give you some bonus picks in the 3rd round. I didn't go over the 3rd round in detail because the way I do my mocks is, so usually I do a 1st round mock, so I do 2 rounds. And then I just post the picks in the 1st round. So I did 2 separate 3-round mocks. In the 3rd round, I didn't do any trades, but I chose different players in the 3rd round. But I didn't do any trades. But I did have some picks exactly the same. Brendan Rice going to the 49ers at the bottom of the 3rd round, I just think makes a lot of sense. He shouldn't be there, but it worked out that way. Keon Coleman, who a lot of people thought he just lost money running. I think it was 4.65 at the combine. He going to Miami at the top of the 3rd round. could be a home run for the Dolphins. Jonathan Brooks, who Bucky Brooks calls the best running back in the draft. I got him going 77 to the Raiders, which would, as a Chiefs fan, would absolutely suck. Braylon Allen, one of my draft crushes, going to Tampa Bay at 89 makes a lot of sense. I seriously would not be surprised. You have to fix some things in the offensive line with Tampa, but Braylon Allen going to Tampa, it wouldn't surprise me if he stays healthy. Could lead the NFL in rushing as a rookie. Slasher, Reddick leaving is so odd. He may not even sign an extension with the Jets, so essentially the Eagles get no guaranteed compensation. I'm not really surprised, to be honest, that Reddick left. I heard that once I was kind of thinking this as soon as you drafted Nolan Smith, that you draft Nolan Smith. By the way, if you're not Nolan Smith, I think he's going to be a double-digit sack guy this year. I think you're really going to love this kid. I really, really do. So I'm not that surprised. He may not sign an extension with the Jets. The Jets are kind of going all in this year like they did last year, but the Eagles aren't going to get guaranteed compensation. I think the way I understand the trade, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a third-round pick no matter what, but it could turn into a second, but he has to have – it's a 67.5% playing time, and 10 sacks. And last year, I think he played like 73 or 76% of the time, and he'll get 10 sacks barring injury, but I don't think he'll get that 67.5. So you'll get a third-round pick. You're not going to get that second. So the third-round pick's a lock. You're not going to get the second. But you're going to like Nolan Smith, and I mean Vic Fangio is a world-class defensive coordinator. So I wouldn't be too concerned. And by the way, the Jets are just kind of going to wait and see, because I think that after this year, depending on how things go, they may just be cleaning house and just say, hey, look, we're just going to rebuild. We're going to draft a quarterback. We're going to let some veterans go. Jets are kind of in a weird spot. So I don't worry about that, but you still get a third no matter what, and that's not terrible. So Corey says, I would have definitely stayed at 27 and took a front seven player or outside corner at 27. Really can't afford to have to wait from pick 35 to 71 to pick again. Well, here's the thing. You trade pick 66. So, 66 or 71, it doesn't really matter because you pick at 71. That's why you make the move, is because you have pick 71. So you give up pick 66 to move up to take Jared Verse. So let's say you stay at 27. By the way, I thought about just staying at 27 and taking, you could go offensive line, Byron Murphy in my mock, a guy that's been sliding. You could get Cooper DeJean, who I got mocked to Detroit at 29. You could go that route. Darius Robinson, a guy that I was mocking to Kansas City, you could go ahead and you can grab him. Tyler Nubin, who I have you guys passing up, might be a day one starter. Most people consider him the best safety in the draft. But here's the deal. You gave up 66 because you have 71. That's why the 66 trade really works. So in my mock draft, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I have Arizona trading 27 and 66 to Pittsburgh to get 20 and 98. Let me see if I got that right. Yeah. So you trade up 7 spots in round 1. You trade back 32 spots in round 3. But as you can see, Arizona has picked 71. So that's why you make the move, because you give up 66, you get 71, and you still get 2 other picks in the third round. So you have 71. Now you have 98. I can't think of what the other one is off the top of my head. So you got 70. By the way, I I think Verse is a much better player than any one of these guys. But I this is the whole point of doing these mock drafts is I want to generate this type of discussion. Corey is an Arizona Cardinals fan, so he has more vested interest on how the Arizona Cardinals are going to do than how I have them doing. You know, it's his team. Cardinals aren't my team. So I'm like, well, there's no pass rush on this team. So I'm thinking pass rush. Corey is going, Dan, no, I'd rather have pick number 66, and we could do something at 35, and we can get some players in the third round. So that's what he's saying, and that's the whole point of this channel is I want to hear what different people have to say because I offer my opinion. You get him in the video. Corey's like, no, even though Corey thinks that my draft video is an 11 on a scale 1 to 10. Corey loves it, but no, he didn't like to trade, and that's the whole point of the videos. I want to find out what you guys think. And he could have just stayed here if he wasn't going to sign an extension unless he thinks the Jets are better equipped to contend, which they may be. I think that this was kind of the plan as soon as you picked Nolan Smith. I mean, your writing's on the wall, and that's something that the Eagles have been doing really, really, really well. And if you paid it, I don't know if you had a chance to watch my video, but at 50, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but there's a tackle out of Yale who I have the Eagles taken at 50, and he'll take over for Lane Johnson in 2026 is what I predicted in the video. Watch the video if you haven't yet, because I'd like to know what you think about what I got the Eagles doing. But spoiler alert, at 50, I have them taking a massive tackle out of Yale. Can't pronounce his name. I know he's from Nigeria, so he's just learning. And Yale is a big, Eagles versus Yale. It's a big step up. So one of the things Philly does is they draft for the future. They're not drafting for guys that they want to contribute day one as much as they're drafting for guys that are going to be starters down the line. And that's why you make the move for Nolan Smith, because you knew you were going to let go of Theo Reddick. You're probably getting a third. You're not going to get that second. But I also think that maybe Theo Reddick's looking at that Jets defense and he's going, I can get a lot more sacks here, because I think that, and I'm pure speculation, I think he looked at Nolan Smith and I think he's like, okay, Brandon Graham's coming back. I got Nolan Smith. I got Josh Sweat. And my personal opinion, I think he's looking at Nolan Smith and he's like, this kid's got to get on the field. Brandon Graham's going to get some snaps. I'm probably better than Josh Sweat, but maybe I need to go to New York and keep in mind that wide 9 defense versus the defense Fangio is going to bring. The wide 9 defense is predicated on spacing things out, and even though he'll be responsible, he'll have some run stopping assignments and responsibilities. He's probably thinking to himself, this is the best situation where I can get the most sacks. Because when you're a pass rusher, and let me use a good example here. I'll go to the Chiefs. Chiefs got kid George Karlaftis, but he's super solid against the run. He had, I think, 9.5 sacks. Well, the geniuses at PFF called him like the 56th or 57th rated defensive end, but it's, even though he had, I think, 8.5 or 9 sacks, even though he's not getting after the quarterback, he's stopping a run. He's allowing Chris Jones to be very disruptive. He's helping other Chiefs players out. He's getting pressures on the quarterback. But because that sack number's low, when contract time's going to come around, he's not going to get the same offers as somebody who's got double-digit sack numbers. Theo Reddick's probably thinking to himself, hey, I could stay in New York. I can hit that double-digit sack number a lot easier than I can in Philly. And Fangio is also going to make some changes defensively. It may not be something like pure speculation here. Funk says the second pick was fine. A lot of Lions fans are big on that kid. I just don't like the idea of drafting Cooper in the first. because of the fit. I like the kid; he's worthy of the pick, but we got Branch. Yeah, see, that's kind of my thought process as well when I was thinking about it, because you could also draft Kool-Aid McKinstry, who I have going Baltimore in the very next pick, and you got a guy who's very well coached from Alabama who might be the better corner, but a guy like DeJean is very similar to. By the way, I liked Branch more than I liked DeJean coming out. I liked Branch more. I had Branch as the higher rated player, but I also had Branch as more of a pure safety. You could play some corner, where it sounds like Detroit's using him more at corner than they are at safety. You have to tell me. I think a guy like DeJean is better used if he could be used as a safety who has a lot of corner responsibilities. So I think in Detroit, you would take DeJean and say, you're going to play at corner and you're going to play in some nickel. But the thing I really like about DeJean, and this is key, is he would be an A+ special teams guy, and he would be a special teams guy right away. One thing Detroit was famous for, and matter of fact, they did that in the game against my Chiefs, is they had some fake punts. They'll go for it on fourth down. Another thing I like about DeJean, he's a very solid tackler. You get him in the open field, he's not going to miss a lot of tackles. I think I saw something like, of all the defensive backs, I think Cooper DeJean was like the best tackler, and that's something that's very, very important. So. Yeah, and in my mock draft, all three of those guys would have been available. All three of those guys would be excellent fits for the Cardinals. If I didn't trade up, I probably would go Murphy, building inside out. But I look at the Arizona Cardinals and like, who you gotta have somebody get after the quarterback. And you don't have anybody, and that's why Verse is a better prospect than all three of those guys. Okay, but I get it, and that's the whole point of this. Ooh, it's a good one. The Trek viewer says, in one simulator, the Bills, I keep getting a trade offer from Houston. I get 49 or 42 and 59 for 28. Then I trade in two separate deals. I trade 59 and 60 for 4-3 third rounders. I take Sweat at 42. Then I take Jay Wilson, Rice, Estamine, and Blake Fisher in the third. And by the way, those are good fits. So Wilson, I think would play more tight end, which is kind of neat for the Bills, because you got a guy in 19 minutes into the show and I already have a name freeze. Dalton Kincaid, who was one of my biggest draft crushes, and nobody wants to see him go to Buffalo. So you get a guy like Wilson, but the thing is, though, you already got two tight ends there. You got Knox, and then you got Kincaid. Kincaid, I think, you're just scratching the surface how good he could be. So getting a guy like Wilson doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you get Rice, who is I don't know why he even says Rice, but I was thinking McCaffrey. But you get Rice, who I have going in the third round as well. He's a guy that usually you can grab in the second most years, but he could slide in the third. Blake Fisher, I really like, and the reason why I like that is you're calling him a tackle. He could play inside, but this is excellent value, and he could be backup depth. He's not a starter, but I really like it. In my mock draft, I have Cincinnati giving up pick 59 for T. Higgins. So the Houston Texans would get T. Higgins. But I really like that. I really like that. And by the way, I kind of like this. Wilson, I don't like that much because you already said it, tight end. You have to play tight end. Rice I like because he'll play right away. Estimine, if I remember right, that's that's a running back of Notre Dame. If I get a chance, I didn't do it last year. I have a slow. I do a mock draft. I don't know why I said slow. Of late round players that you want to focus on. Estimine would be one of those guys because I think that he cost himself some money with the 4.72 40, but he had a good vertical, and I watched him play. He doesn't play like a 4.7 guy, and he's over 220. He's a powerful dude. A guy like that in Buffalo, I think, would be perfect because you have Cook, who's a smaller back. Estimine would be a guy that would be able to get you those short yardage touchdowns. So if you're in a league that has a higher priority on touchdowns, that's a guy you may want to get because it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up with like 10 rushing touchdowns on 80, 90 carries. But at the same time, I don't want to burden Cook. I want to take some of that short yardage stuff away from Josh Allen. So he's a guy, you never know. Maybe he's a guy who gets like 150 touches and he can catch the ball. Whoever gets Chop Robinson is getting a defensive rookie of the year player and maybe even defensive player of the year candidate. So I got him going to Tampa Bay in every single mock draft because in my draft, he just keeps free falling. And by the way, this is exactly right. His tool bag of rush techniques mixed with power, he's only going to get better. He's have to stay healthy. He's a raw dude. That's why I like him at Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay let go of some of their veteran pass rushers. They've been drafting guys. They drafted Joe Tyron something out of Washington. I really liked the pick at the time, but he hasn't come around. Their leading sackers, their third-round pick, Yaya Darby out of Louisville, a guy I really, really did like. I really did like that guy. They got him in the third round. I think he had 8.5 or 9.5 sacks last year. Really came on. So a thing is with Chop Robinson going to Tampa Bay is that he doesn't have to start, but he'll contribute. And I could see him having more production than Yaya Darby, who is either 8.5 or 9.5 sacks as a third round rookie. And keep in mind they had some veterans in front of him. So that's a guy I'm kind of looking at. This is a guy, Yaya Darby, maybe a guy that's in you could look forward to in 2024 getting about 12 to 15 sacks. Could be a future superstar. Johnny Wilson is a receiving fullback. I don't see that at all because he was a pure receiver at Florida State. So I think I mocked him in one of my mock drafts is the final pick or not the final pick, but the Chiefs' third round pick because he would learn under Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce's called tight end, but he's really just a big receiver. So you could ask Johnny Wilson to do a lot of things that Travis Kelce does. In the other third round mock, I had a Ben Denault, I think it is, the tight end out of K-State. So yeah. Slasher, I don't see it. I'm not big on Chop at all. Dude can't finish on the college level. He's got like 100 pressures and only 4 sacks, and he lived in one-on-ones. Dude's a workout warrior. You have a good point, Funk. Who was the guy? I should know this. Him and Micah Parsons came out the same year, and he looked more impressive than Parsons did. He went to Baltimore in the first round and just hasn't done it. And it was funny because there's a guy on, and most of the stuff's in YouTube Shorts. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but played at Penn State. And he coached at Arizona State. Now he's doing like all sorts of stuff on YouTube. And but he said, who's got the best athletic department in the country? And he said, it's Penn State. And he goes, all you got to do is just look at some of these combine performances from Penn State. Was it Theo Johnson, Theo Reddick, the tight end, 6'6", like 260 something, ran like a 4.58. I'm like, why? I watched Penn State's offense. It was one of the worst offenses in the world. And what the hell? A guy like Chop Robinson didn't. If you take his production, he's like maybe a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. But then you see the potential, just like with Micah Parsons, but it's on a completely different level. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the guy. He got drafted by the Ravens. He changed his first name. It was like Owa, Jason Owa, and they changed it to something else. Odafe Owa. Yeah, Odafe Owa. And that was kind of the reason why the Ravens bought in Clowney, is because Owa just wasn't getting it done. But he was like 250, 260, ran it was like a 4.38 or 4.36, so something ungodly. Played in the COVID year, played in all 7 games for Penn State. I think it was 7. Had no sacks. How are you the defensive end who runs under 4.4 and not get 1 sack? And it didn't show up. And that's the thing with Chop Robinson, is that he could have that. But there were some holes with Micah Parsons, and he got with the right team. I think Chop Robinson going to Tampa Bay could be a star. Being a defensive end with talent, spending a couple of years in Baltimore, it's Jason or Odafe. He changed it. I don't know why. He should have more production. He really should have more production. He just doesn't. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do think he's a first-round dude. So, yeah, I know he had a better time in his pro day. I remember it was 4.7, and I remember that there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to bump him down. But he had a really, I think his broad jump was, I know his broad and vertical was really good. And I watched him play, and he's faster than a 4.7 guy. I think you can get him after the 3rd round. But a team like Buffalo, who's got a smaller back in Cook, getting a bigger back, who, and by the way, he's a good receiver, and he plays faster than the 4.7. And the pro, I kind of gave up on pro days ever since Jamarcus Russell had the greatest pro day of all time. I don't pay attention. But if Buffalo got him late in the 3rd, I wouldn't complain. Sorry, Funk was playing out of position. He was playing out of position. They gave him playing that 3-point stance. So he's better suited to play in the 2-point stance and get off on his speed. Micah only had 5 sacks this last year. Yeah, and by the way, Micah was used more as an inside linebacker at Penn State. Those sacks were mainly on blitzes. And that's the reason the debate that you and Funk are having is kind of the reason why I got him sliding to Tampa Bay at 26, is I think there's a lot of NFL executives that are going to say, like, hey, yeah, the combine's good, but James Franklin runs a good program at Penn State, and why wasn't he more productive? And then there's going to be people like Slasher are going to say, yeah, because sometimes you get a guy that you just want to get him on the field, and even though he's not playing in the right position, there's going to be a lot of that back and forth. Because there's going to be some back and forth, I think Chop Robinson goes to Tampa Bay, and then he could end up, it's Joe Tyron something and Yaya Darby. He'll either play or he'll back those guys up. So I love the back and forth. Keaton Talks Sports, man. Welcome to Keaton. Keaton, listen, I'm gonna give Keaton some props. His latest mock draft, Keaton messaged me. He goes, Dan, not only are you so much better looking than me, your mock draft is so much better, but I want to give Keaton some props. His mock draft, his latest mock draft video, while it's not as good as mine, is really good. Of all the mocks he's done, this is mock 6. This is easily the best one he's done, hands down. Like the other mocks I watched, and there was a lot of times I'm like, what are you thinking? This one, there's only one pick I really didn't like, and I mean, there's several I disagreed with. There was one I didn't like, but even that pick, he gave his argument, and I was like, that makes sense. Keaton, there's a guy called Big Chief Sean. He's been hitting me up. He wanted to do some mock draft stuff. I'm going to ask you live. I meant to do this privately. I'm going to do it publicly. If we can get Big Chief Sean or maybe Keys. Here's the problem with Keys is that he hasn't had a chance to do a lot of mock draft stuff, and he's got like his special Magic Mike thing going on. That's why he hasn't been able to come on here. Doing a live mock, but I'd kind of like it to be a threesome. So I'll get a hold of you, but I was thinking maybe we can do a live mock on either a Tuesday or Friday show, because I know Big Chief Sean, who's been a fan of in the past. So Keaton, the Mean Machine's going to get another good player. Oh yeah, in my mock draft, I have them getting very, very creative. I didn't even answer your question. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Rashee Rice, I was kind of gathering the information. And by the way, I kind of cringed when I heard this. Rashee Rice is leasing a Lamborghini. So, he's a second round pick. I've sold cars before, so I'm telling you this now. Leasing a Lamborghini is just ridiculous, especially if you're under the age of it. I think the bump in insurance is 26. It could be 25. So like, one of my favorite YouTube channels has nothing to do with football is Matt Cross. Matt Cross bought a Lamborghini, and his insurance is super low. But he's an older guy, and you can only drive, I think it's like 2,000 miles a year or something really, really, really low. But when you lease one, you have all sorts of regulation. It's more expensive insurance wise. Anyway, it's a bad situation. So anyway, so here's the deal. He was drag racing a guy in a Corvette. There was an accident. He's cooperating with the police. There's an off chance that this, and I say off chance because nobody was hurt to the best of my knowledge. It was a traffic accident that other cars were involved in. He's not going to go to jail. There is a chance that this falls under the personal conduct policy, and he misses 2 games. Will be early in the situation. He needs to get some people around him, because leasing a Lamborghini at his age is one of the dumbest financial decisions. And he's not even a first round draft pick. He's a second round pick. And I can't remember which draft pick it was, but that Lamborghini was probably, I was just trying to do the numbers here, even though it's a lease. I'm thinking it's like 20 to 30% of your contract goes into a car that you just wrecked. I did some stupid things with cars, so yeah. My reaction, somebody needs to talk to this kid. Probably, if he misses playing time, it'll be earlier in the year, so I'm not worried about it. But somebody needs to get in this kid's corner and like, hey, don't be leasing Lambos. I mean, he's 23 or whatever. I mean, the second. So if he continues on the course he's going after he signs that big money contract, lease the Lambo. Then don't use your second round pick contract on a Lambo. That's bad financial decision. Yeah, and the Patriots are going to get a good player. I got them getting very creative in my mock. So got some love here from you guys here. But yeah. Perry, what's up, brother? Says hey to everybody, man. God, I love Perry when he comes in, man. Dan, I like you. Keaton gave the Lions better than you guys gave us in the first. I know you're not high on DeGene. I'm drawing a blank on who he gave you guys. So, yeah, let me reach out. I'll reach you privately, but I was thinking we do a live mock, and I think it'd be better with 3 people. I was kind of toying around with the idea like 2 people can veto a move if it's really, really, really bad. Also, you've never worked with Big Chief Sean before, who's been hitting me up just kind of out of the blue. He's trying to get his channel kind of going and stuff. And he hit me up. He's like, Dan, I wanted to get involved in this. And I was kind of surprised. He called me earlier in the morning. I don't even know if Big Chief Sean knows I'm in Vegas now, because I saw it was like a 7 attached to the time. I'm not sure what it was, but I kind of slipped right through it. I'm not an early morning person. In case you notice, I'm doing this number quite a bit. What it is that the dryness has affected my skin. I've been itching a lot lately due to the dryness. I actually thought it might be something different, but anyway, yeah. Maybe Friday, maybe Tuesday. I want to get a threesome for it, and we'll find out. Perry asked a great question. Dan, who's your number 1 guy you want at 32? I've been mocking Darius Robinson because I love his upside. I love the fact that you have this dominant defensive line, and Darius Robinson would add to it because you gave Chris Jones all that money. We're trying to I always mess up the name. It's Mike Hanna or Mike Dana. He had 9 sacks last year, and he's a guy I thought the Chiefs would lose in free agency, but the Chiefs are working really hard to try to get a deal they haven't yet. George Karlaftis, we drafted FAU in the first round, who hasn't even been able to crack the starting lineup. I didn't like that pick at all. There are several players I would have chosen ahead of him. Isaiah Foxley is one of them. He went to the Saints in the second round. He didn't even lodge a sack, so maybe he's better than Foxley, but Karlaftis is ascending. He's about ready to. I think he's really close to just becoming a dominant player in his own right. Then you get a guy like Chris Jones, who's just getting ready for that gold jacket here in a couple of years. So Darius Robinson added to that defensive line, to me, is a guy that really, really, really excites me. But I don't think it was funny. My buddy Jerry, who we've been talking mock draft stuff with, and he's heard of him. And almost every single mock draft I've seen doesn't have Kingsley Suda-Matea. I'm probably butchering that name. Kingsley Suda-Matea played at BYU. He's Penei Sewell's cousin, and he's very, very similar to Penei Sewell. I think he could play left tackle. In my mock draft, I have the Patriots sneaking back into the first round to cock block the Chiefs and grab Kingsley Suda-Matea, and he would be the day 1 starting left tackle for the Patriots. I've been mocking him to Kansas City. So to answer your question, Suda-Matea, if he ends up being like a lesser version of Penei Sewell, but on the left side, I would really want him. I mocked in my latest draft. I did Patrick Paul, who I have a 2nd round grade on, but he's pass protection's A+. And he's long. He's like 6'7", 330. I've seen different things. So either he allowed 1 sack last year or no sacks, but he has like 30. I think it's like 43 or 33 starts. So Houston's not a Power 5 school, but he played against some really good teams. I have a 2nd round grade, but I think Patrick Paul could come in and be a starter. I'm an old school guy, so I still would like Darius Robinson. But when I look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I think the biggest problem is that whole left tackle, and I want somebody who can protect 15 more than anything. So Suda-Matea, It's kind of a debate between Suda Matea, who I think could slide. Most mock drafts don't have him in round one. I think he could be a round one pick. I'm in my latest mock. I have the Patriots. Like I said, the Patriots, and everybody would hate that. Nobody would be happy with that. But Darius Robinson's also there, so I'm giving you like two different names. If the Chiefs can figure something out at left tackle, then Darius Robinson. If the Chiefs going into the draft don't have a left tackle, Suda Matea is a guy. By the way, Andy Reid loves BYU guys. Being a BYU alum. I also think Suda Matea is a guy that he's a redshirt sophomore who has massive, massive upside. So I'm giving you a few different answers here. I'm going to hit you up and see if we can do a live mock here very, very, very soon. Keaton, who's the guy you want the Pats to take? May, but he fits better with New England. I like Daniels too. He needs to put on some weight. So in my mock, I got New England getting very creative, and I have them taking McCarthy at 5. And watch the video because it really makes sense on how I do it. So it's kind of hard because I think the Patriots are going to try to change some things up. The thing is with May May has the most upside. Wildly inconsistent. I think Daniels would have more success in New England year one, but he's got to add some weight. He also needs to change his game because a lot of things that he did in college, you can't do that on the pro level. You can't take hits from safeties and corners and linebackers, even though the SEC has the best college football talent. You can't take hits like that, and he should be well coached enough. And in any NFL team to say don't get hit. I mean, you're making a massive investment. But May is my number 2 guy. All those guys lease cars so they can get new ones and not have to pay car payments. Well, that's the whole thing about when you lease a car as a general rule of thumb. When you lease a sports car, the payment's actually higher than if you buy it, right? So you're paying a higher payment, and then when you turn it in, you don't get anything in return. Now, the advantage of it is that, like I have a Toyota Corolla. If I leased it, I would turn it in and not have to pay any repairs. Lately, I had to fix some things. I drive a lot, so I had to make some car repairs. So that's kind of the advantage. I would tell somebody, if you just plan on getting a new car every 2 to 3 years, you definitely want to lease one because you don't have to mess with car repairs. But usually a lease payment, not always, but usually a lease payment will be more. In a Lamborghini, a lease payment would 100% guarantee you that the lease payment on that Lamborghini was more than if you were to purchase it. So and then the insurance, this is one thing that they don't tell you but this is a fact. When you lease a car, your insurance is higher. You have to pay a higher insurance premium. So I know for a fact that 20 to 30% of that rookie contract went into that car. And it's not, he wasn't even a first round pick. I don't think anybody got. So here's what happened. It ended up being he was drag racing a Corvette, and ended up being other vehicles got damaged in the accident. But somebody was hurt. Okay, I didn't think anybody was hurt. Okay, so that I didn't know Slasher. So Slasher says someone was hurt, Dan, a couple, and I think the female went to the hospital and he fled the scene. So they say he caused seriously bodily harm to the couple. He would be charged with a hit and run. That I was not aware of that, Slasher. The way I understood it, nobody got hurt, and that he was working with the police department after the accident. Because I do know this. He's working with the police department. So being charged with a hit and run, that he won't do jail time, but that would mean he would miss a few games. But again, it would be early in the season. So I didn't know anybody got hurt. So I'll find out some more information for Friday's show. Okay, Perry brings up a good point that NFL did nothing to Jalen Carter. That happened when he was at Georgia, and the NFL's trying to tweak that rule. That happened when he was in Georgia, so that's an NCAA violation. That's not an NFL violation. If you do something in college, the NFL can't penalize you for that. They're thinking about making some changes to that rule, but the NFL did nothing to Jalen Carter because this happened at Georgia. So it's not exactly the same thing. I was under the assumption it was just an accident, that the police are more concerned about the drag racing and the accident and that he left. But his situation's a little different because he's a celebrity. So going to get legal aid before you go to the police department when you're a celebrity, I use the word celebrity, air quotes, slightly different situation, but I didn't know anybody got hurt. So I do like Cooper. I think the kid's going to be a really big nickel, but Darius makes more sense to me for what the Lions need. Yeah, Darius Robinson also was a guy I toyed around with for Detroit. I just think that I'm bringing up some bad memories here. When I looked at that game against San Francisco, I want somebody on the back end. I want somebody who can make some tackles, and that's something I like with DeJean. With Nealon, I think you get some more help on the front end. Plus, I think with Darius is that you got who was it? Was it DJ Reader? You already got some interior offensive help. So I think we go wide receiver, offensive line. I was marking Graham Bartram, the offensive lineman at Duke. By the way, I just saw the results right as I was starting to show. He had his pro day, looked phenomenal. I've been mocking him 31 or 29. I was mocking him 29, and then you guys signed the guard from Baltimore, another name freeze. So I'm thinking maybe after his pro day, he may go higher. I was also toying around with Tampa going offensive line. Receiver makes a lot of sense as well. I could see receiver at 29. And the way I have my mock draft going, I have a lot of receivers free falling. You could get somebody at 29 as well. You could get somebody, I know. Yeah, Carter didn't get in any real trouble with the law. I didn't know anybody got hurt, so that's new. And so yeah. Oh man, I got Denver Gator. And somebody say threesome. Yes. So what the deal is that Big Chief Sean, you remember Big Chief Sean? He's been like wanting to do some draft stuff, and Keaton's like, Dan, it's my fantasy to have two guys in a threesome. I'm here to make fantasies come true. So that's where we're at, man. Denver Gators, always good to see you, Corey. I'm glad you're back, brother. Got a little love for Denver Gator. Who do you think was a better fullback for Kansas City, Kimball Anders or Tony Richardson? I got to meet Tony Richardson in person. What a great guy. And I loved Kimball. So here's the deal. What a great question, by the way. This is something most people don't know, but I know that there's several Chiefs fans that just harbor resentment for Kimball Anders because of the, was it 93, 94? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank on the year. Drawing a complete blank on you. I think it was 93. So an AFC championship game against the Bills, it's the score was 14-10 at the end of the first half, and Joe Montana throws a pass to Kimball Anders. Kimball Anders catches it on the 2-yard line right between the 3 and 8 and bounces off right into the Bills defender. I think it's Antoine Winfield who catches the interception. If Anders catches that ball, he probably scores, and the Chiefs go up at halftime. And because they're down at halftime, the final score, by the way, was like 30-14, 30-10, something like that. I think it was 30-10. early in the third quarter, I think it was Bruce Smith knocked Joe Montana out of the game. And once that happened, the Chiefs were done. But there's a lot of resentment about Kimball Anders, because if he does catch that pass, you go in at halftime up against the Bills. You never know. I love Tony Richardson. I met Tony Richardson in person. I think Kimball Anders was better. I remember they gave him a chance to be the starting running back. And he had this, it was first or second game of the season. He had like 150, 160 yards against Denver. And he had 2 long touchdowns. He's about ready to score a third touchdown. They were inside the 10. And they get ready to hand him the ball, and he plants his foot and just falls down. Turned out to be ruptured his Achilles tendon. It ended his career. He never recovered. Today, he would be able to, but back in the 90s, a ruptured Achilles tendon meant your career was over. Nobody hit him. He had it while he was getting ready. Seriously, I should go back. I should pull the stats. It was like 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. He would have had over 170 rushing yards. It would have been 3 touchdowns. They were beating the crap out of Denver. He looked like he was having one of the greatest games. It was his best game ever. It really was. It was the best game ever. Final game of his career. It was heartbreaking. I'll answer Anders. So yeah. God. Carter wouldn't find results. Yeah. Oh, we got some arguments there, but a little love here. So we start the bid for the 4th pick with 3 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Patrick Surtain, by the way, Denver Gator. Seriously, I know you're saying that kind of facetiously, but if there's a quarterback available at 4, and I'm not sure who Sean Payton has as the highest rated quarterback. It's not that inconceivable. It's really not, because you're looking at 3 first-round picks for 2024, 2025, and 2026. You don't have a second this year, so it'd be the second round next year. Patrick Surtain would suck. Do you get the quarterback that you want? And by the way, with Sean Payton, I don't know which one he likes better. It's not as crazy as you think. I should know this, but I just forgot. Texas leaving the sign of it. So I was under the impression. I just learned all this now. So I was under the impression that I knew it was a Lamborghini and I knew it was a Corvette. And what I thought it was that it was in Dallas, by the way, Perry. So Rasheed Rice went to SMU, located there in Dallas, grew up in Dallas. He trained there during the off season as well. So Patrick Mahomes also does. I don't know if it's Dallas, but I know Patrick Mahomes in the off season. He did buy a home in Kansas City, but he lives in Dallas, I think, or Texas. I'm going to say I think it's Dallas. I honestly don't know. The accident did happen in Dallas. What I heard was that it was a Lamborghini and a Corvette, so 2 high-dollar sports cars. They were drag racing, got out of control, and there's always exceptions to rules, but I was under the impression it was just an accident. So it was in Dallas. So yeah. No, you're right. It wasn't Winfield. It was another guy I really liked for the Bills. I thought it was Winfield, but it was another it was another defensive back I really liked. God, I'm drawing a blank on it. I want to say number 20. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I've actually had a mock draft where offensive linemen went. Let me see if I got this right here. Now, keep in mind, in the mock draft, I was kind of doing. I had a trade at 12. So I had offensive linemen go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I had Dallas trading up to 12 because they wanted to get JC Latham. So I think there could be. In my mock draft, I have an offensive lineman going at 10, 11, 13, and 14. And I think the Saints have a pick in the first and second round, fourth, fifth round picks. If there's a way and one of the offensive linemen falls, I think the Saints could be in desperate need of an offensive lineman, but I think they could easily grab one at 14. I think the Raiders' biggest need, even though quarterbacks won, right tackle is a glaring hole. So that's kind of the reason why I think the Raiders do. In my latest mock, I have the Chargers trading down to 11 with Minnesota. And I think the Chargers, whether they stay at 5 or if they trade down, go offensive line. My buddy Jerry put down that he wanted Brock Bowers to go to the Jets at 10. And that was his mock draft. He's not a Jets fan, but he says, hey, look, Aaron Rodgers needs a weapon. So this is just driving me nuts. It's number 20. He was a first-round draft pick. He was a safety. I want to say he went to Illinois, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. I thought it was Antoine Winfield, but God, it's driving me nuts. Here's the thing. I really think if Anders catches that pass, even if he does score, I think Buffalo still wins that game. So I agree completely. Henry Jones. Yes, that was it. Henry Jones. It was Henry Jones. Thank you. That was driving me nuts. In this, okay, so here's the drill. Reason why Denver won't get that much is because if you make a move with Surtain, part of it is a salary cap dump because you're eating just a crazy high amount from Russell Wilson. So part of this move would be a salary cap dump. That's why you could include him in a trade with a team like Arizona. Now keep in mind, Arizona, and even though I think Corey is kind of being facetious here, but here's the deal. In this type of trade, you would not only get the 4th round pick back, you would probably get 1 or 2 of the 3rd round picks, but something like 3 first round picks and a player, and maybe even not a second, but more than just Surtain and 3 rounds. Believe it or not, this is actually quite possible, but it would only happen if Sean Payton has his guy at 4, and I don't know who his guy is. So in my latest mock draft, I have Denver taking Bo Nix at 12. I have Penix as the higher rated quarterback. Okay. So I have Penix rated higher than Nix. But for Denver, I think what Denver wants to do offensively, Nix fits that skill set a lot better. I have Drake May as my number 2 quarterback. I don't think Drake May is let's just throw Caleb Williams off the board. Okay. Let's just get rid of him. I don't think Drake May is Sean Payton's number 1 option because he's a raw dude. I think that he would like Jaden Daniels or JJ McCarthy more. And there's a lot of hype regarding JJ McCarthy. I could actually see Jaden Daniels being the guy that Sean Payton likes. But I'll be honest with you, and me and Denver Gator talked about this. Me and Denver Gator both kind of agree that Bo Nix may be the best quarterback for Sean Payton's system. And I could see Denver saying, we'll get him at 12. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. But if you think Jaden Daniels is the guy, or you think JJ McCarthy's the guy, it could be. And by the way, yeah, the Trey Lance deal, by the way, San Francisco gave up 3 first-round picks. The Rams gave up 3 first-round picks for Jared Goff. And if 1, 2, and 3 are gone, but Denver has that guy who they have as their top guy at 4, there's going to be a phone call. So, is there a guy that could be in the 3rd round or later quarterback? Absolutely. Now there's debate because his stock's been rising up, but Spencer Rattler is a guy I really think Sean Payton could work with. And I think Spencer Rattler would be a good fit in Sean Payton's system. Keep in mind, Denver doesn't have a 2nd round pick, so you have to make that pick in the 3rd round. But Spencer Rattler, let's just say Denver can't get their guy in round 1. Or 12 comes around and they want to go in a different direction and just say, hey, look, we're just going to wing it at quarterback, which I don't see them doing. Round 3 comes around, and got Spencer Rattler, and that's kind of a weenie answer, but Spencer Rattler is a guy that's been kind of moving up the board quite a bit. God, there was another late round quarterback I've been looking at, and I'm just drawing a blank. I'm sorry, Perry. There's a quarterback late in the draft that I was looking at that I was like, yeah, this guy. Yeah, exactly. There's a quarterback. There was a guy late in the draft, and I'm just drawing a complete blank. But Spencer Rattler is a guy that could be available in the 3rd round. There was another quarterback in this draft I was looking at, and I'm just drawing a absolute blank. I don't have him going in the first 3 rounds, but there was a guy I was looking at, like, hey, look, this guy. I'm just drawing a blank. I originally mocked. So one of my mock drafts, I have Dallas and Denver flip-flopping. Denver drops down to 24, and they would take either Michael Penix or Bo Nix. In that mock draft, I had Denver taking Michael Penix, who I think is I have him rated higher than McCarthy. I have him rated higher than Bo Nix. And I'll be honest with you, depending on your system, you may even like him better than Jaden Daniels, because I think Penix is a big dude. He ran a 4.55. Injury questions. The one thing about Penix, though, is that even though he's got that bazooka arm, I did notice a little bit of touch issues. And where Bo Nix, early in his career, he seemed to have that, but when he played at Oregon, he really seemed to really iron that out really well. I really liked the arc as far as passing. I remember as a freshman at Oregon, I think he threw like 52, 55%. I think he led the country at like 60, 76, 77% at Oregon. So you could see where Bo Nix's accuracy, but he doesn't have that elite arm. Penix has that elite arm that makes you drool, but I don't think Sean Payton's really going after that. Bo Nix is a guy that, if the problem with this draft for Denver is that they pick 12th, the Raiders pick 13, and the Raiders do want a quarterback, and the Raiders have a 2nd round pick. So the Raiders could say, you know what, we can fix our offensive line at right tackle. We can fix that in round 2, or we could trade back into the first round and get our guy at right tackle if we really wanted to. Denver can't do that. So if Denver wants a quarterback, they pretty much got to get him at 12, or they have to say, so in my latest mock draft, I had the Raiders going tackle 13, Penix at, I think it's 44. If Denver's convinced that the Raiders like Penix, but they like Bo Nix better, then you trade back. But what really screws them is the Raiders pick directly after them in the draft, and it really fucks them, because if they trade back, they have to make sure the Raiders, who do want a quarterback, now the Raiders did sign Gardner Minshew to a 2-year, $25 million deal. It's expensive backup money, but it's also the type of money that you pay when you're expecting to start for maybe half a season or one season and bring somebody in. Denver, this is a true story, Perry. Sean Payton called me a few hours ago and asked if I wanted to be the backup quarterback. True story. Not true. So I think Denver trades back only if they're firmly convinced the Raiders aren't going after their guy. And by the way, I think for the Raiders, Penix, I think, is a much better fit than Nix. Where in Denver, I think Nix would be a better fit than Penix. If we're just putting quarterbacks on a rating system, I would put Penix above Nix easily. Wouldn't even think about it. And now I'm sitting here and there was a quarterback I was looking at that I was like, God, because ever since the Brock Purdy thing, I've been trying to look at like who's a quarterback nobody's watching that could really just come out of nowhere and play. And one thing I'm always curious about is, why don't teams look at other quarterbacks like Cleveland, Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Well, they signed Jameis Winston. Well, Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked really, really good. Why isn't a team saying, hey, this guy can play, let's bring him in? I mean, I'll be honest with you, Ben Stidham, or was it Garrett Stidham? Why isn't Sean Payton, why didn't he reach out to Jameis Winston, a quarterback he had some success with, and why didn't he reach? Are you going to tell me Jared Stidham's going to be a better quarterback than Jameis Winston? And you're just, yeah. By the way, Corey, you're dead right. So here's the drill with the NFL quarterback, and it's true with quarterbacks. If you're a good running back, even with a bad offensive line, that will show up. If you're a good receiver, that will usually show up. If you're a good defensive back, linebacker, defensive lineman, it doesn't matter. Quarterback's different. You have to have the infrastructure around you. If you're Patrick Mahomes and you went to the Carolina Panthers, you're not going to have the same, you're not going to be the guy that we know is the best football player on the planet. You're just not. The Patrick Mahomes situation was kind of like the perfect storm. Josh Allen, look at his first 2 years in the league. He's a below average quarterback. People want to argue this with me, and it's like, no, I understand he had all these highlight throws. He's a below average quarterback. Year 3, they bring in Stephon Diggs. His play improves. Now he's an elite quarterback. It took some time. Jordan Love, the was first half of the season. What did Green Bay start off at? 2-5, 2-6, something like that. I was convinced Green Bay, hey, look, everybody's going to get fired. They're going to have to use one of these draft picks. They're going to have to, because remember, they have an extra second and third, so Green Bay's going to have to trade up, get a quarterback. How long did it take Jordan Love to kind of work out? I mean, he doesn't really fit the system, but Justin Fields was traded for a 6th-round draft pick, conditional 4th. Are you really going to tell me Jared Stidham's not better? And Justin Fields doesn't fit Sean Payton's offense, but Gardner Minshew would be a much better fit in Denver than well, I don't know what they're doing with the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to change some things offensively, but Jordan Love practices black magic. I don't think I ever see a quarterback throw into double, triple coverage more and get away with it in my life. I'll be honest. I remember watching Jordan Love at Utah State, and I only watched them twice, and they're both blowout losses. And I'm like, I have no idea what people are looking at. This guy didn't even nowhere close to a first round pick. What are people looking at? And I saw the athleticism, I saw the arm, and I didn't see anything else. The Bills got lucky with Allen. He was a boomer. It was okay. Yes and no. They were patient. Brian Daboll was a world-class offensive coordinator. The Stephon Diggs trade really helped. And I remember when they traded all that draft capital to Minnesota, I remember saying they should just stay at 21 and get a receiver. That pick was Justin Jefferson, by the way. But you don't want to build. I think Diggs was more important to be in Buffalo than Justin Jefferson. He wouldn't have the same type of impact because at the time you had a quarterback who was struggling. So that's the reason why when you get a guy who's struggling, you don't want a rookie receiver. If I remember correctly, maybe it was. I'm trying to remember here. It might have been pick 22. It's either that or I think it was pick 21 because Jalen Reagor went 20. I think, and he signed a 1-year deal with the Patriots, by the way. Mac Jones is another guy. Why isn't Mac Jones want to play in Denver? Are you really telling me that they couldn't do something to get Mac Jones or Justin Fields there? So. But with Allen, they did some things. You know, they didn't move on. They didn't try to draft another quarterback. Brian Daboll stayed in the same spot. They built around him, and that's not something a lot of teams do. Give a lot of credit to the Detroit Lions. They brought in Jared Goff. And they brought in pieces to build around him. Now, they did draft Hendon Hooker in the 3rd round, but that's just good value. I mean, it's a little different if you drafted Hendon Hooker and put him in even Hendon Hooker at the 2nd round, then that, but in the 3rd round, no, that's fine. That's just good value. But you didn't try to draft a replacement. You brought in Penei Sewell. Look, let's be honest, they lucked out with Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was a guy. How many Lions fans, how many times I tell you that Amon-Ra St. Brown, his ceiling's a top tier number 2. He's not number 1. How many times I tell you guys, Amon-Ra's not number 1. You Lions fans need to listen. But the reason why you guys come here is because when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. Like when I bet a couple $100 for the Chiefs to beat the Lions week 1. Yeah. I said, I'm wrong. I'm still mad about that. And we won a Super Bowl. I'm still mad about that. Little love here to One Pride. One Pride says, yeah. One Pride, did you get a chance to watch my mock draft? Funk absolutely loved it. Funk said it was the best thing he ever seen. Actually, Funk didn't like my picks. I'm drawing a blank. Keaton Talk Sports. Keaton Talk Sports had a really good mock draft. I'm drawing a blank on who he picked for the Lions, but Funk liked Keaton's better. And I'm trying to get Keaton on for a live mock draft. So he's in Jacksonville. Mac Jones is in Jacksonville. Jameis Winston is in Cleveland. Joe Flacco's in Indianapolis. All these guys might be better than Jared Stidham with Denver, but it leads me to believe that Denver has to do something in round 1. You don't have a 2nd round pick. You have some some cap issues because you're eating a buttload of money from Russell Wilson. So I mentioned Justin Fields. So listen to these quarterbacks that have had some success in the NFL. Joe Flacco is going to be the backup in Indianapolis. Mac Jones is going to be the backup in Jacksonville. Justin Fields is going to be the backup in Pittsburgh. There's one more. Oh, did I say Jameis Winston already? The energy drink's starting to I'm hyper, but I'm not firing in all cylinders. Oh yeah, Perry. Listen, you get a guy who I mocked in the first round. There was a lot of people that thought that Detroit could take him. Was it pick 6? Was that right? Pick number 6. There was a lot of people that said when Detroit picked 6. So in the draft, the way it worked was Detroit went from 6 to 12, or did they go 6 to 16, then back up to 12? Trying to remember how it went. Okay, if I remember, let me see if I recap this correctly. Arizona went 3 to 12, so Houston can pick C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. Then Arizona went 12 to 6, so they can get Paris Johnson, who was right tackle last year, and he's going to be left tackle this year. And then Detroit went from 6 to 12. You could have taken Hendon Hooker at 6. You could have taken Hendon Hooker at 12. And you could legitimately justify both of those selections. Instead, you get that same player in the 3rd round. Of course you make that pick. Absolutely. And you guys tell me, I know he didn't play, but was he eligible to play towards the end of the year? If everything didn't work out in Detroit, by the way, Lions fans, I know you're mad at losing the NFC Championship game. That's a successful season. Getting to the NFC Championship, winning 2 home playoff games, massive success. If Hendon Hooker's pick number 6 or 12, you don't have it. And you go into this year with him being your starting quarterback. It would make sense for Denver to take a look at Hendon Hooker and say, look, what do you want? Because if you can't get your guy in the draft, I would look at Hendon Hooker. Blaine Gabbert only played the final game for Kansas City. I didn't even talk about this. I was mad, and I muted or blocked somebody who reported Carson Wentz was the backup quarterback for the Chiefs. And I was like, ha, April Fools, fuck you. And it really happened. Blaine Gabbert's a free agent. Blaine Gabbert played well. Blaine Gabbert has talent. I think Carson Wentz is the backup quarterback for the Chiefs. Are you really going to tell me that Jared Stidham's definitely better than Carson Wentz? Yeah, I was looking at that. So, by the way, Red Sea says Hendon Hooker could be the future with golf up for a contract after this year. So, I was watching something. I think I have to pay for it, and I refuse to pay for it just out of pure spite. I may back down. ESPN an article about 2025 free agents and spearheaded by Goff, who, if he gets the Lions back into the playoffs and has a very similar season they did last year, could be saying, hey, look, all these quarterbacks are making, $50 million a year. And, God, I won these playoff games for the Lions. Maybe I deserve 60. It's not inconceivable. And by the way, Hendon Hooker does have a higher ceiling. Hendon Hooker. Oh, God, Desmond Ridder. That's another guy. Yeah. Yeah, the Lions kept him out. Yeah. Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker. Yeah. By the way, Corey, we didn't even talk about that. I love picking up Desmond Ridder. I love picking up Desmond Ridder. I mean, this is a guy that I think in the locker room, you probably won't hear this publicly, but I think a lot of Cardinals players are going to be like, this Desmond Ridder kid, this is a good dude. Like, we can win with this kid. I kind of got the feeling people aren't going to. I kind of got the feeling people aren't like ride or die with Kyler Murray. I think Desmond Ridder is a guy that I think secretly a lot of Cardinals players are really going to love this kid. I really do. I love his upside. I love his attitude. I think he was in a really bad situation, and I think he was mismanaged. I think going to Arizona where there's no expectations, and he can do a lot of the things that Kyler Murray can do. He really can. He's a big dude. He's a powerful dude. He's got really good arm. Kyler Murray has more arm talent. Let me throw that out there. But Ridder has a good arm. Remember, Ridder ran a 4.51, and Kyler Murray didn't run. But I'm willing to bet Kyler Murray can beat that time. But there's not many quarterbacks in the league that can run 4.51. All the quarterbacks that have backed up Kyler Murray in the past didn't have anywhere close to the same skill set. You had pocket passers, and you had to run one offense for Kyler Murray. You had to run a second offense for the backup quarterbacks. You couldn't even use the same playbook, basically. So in Desmond Ridder, you can keep the same scheme in play. It's just, you instead of maybe having Kyler Murray run around more, Desmond Ridder is more of a, 1-2 run out of bounds where Kyler Murray might scramble around and try to keep play alive. Desmond, I forgot about Desmond Ridder. I would rather have Desmond Ridder than Jared Stidham. There's a lot of quarterbacks I'd rather than Jared Stidham. But if I'm the Denver Broncos, why am I not looking at one of these guys and then using the 12th pick in the draft for a player who can help you right now because you don't have a pick in the second round? By the way, you're right. And by the way, Rondale Moore is one of my favorite players, and I love this dude. But no, for whatever reason, things didn't work out. It may work out in Atlanta, but you don't know. He may get cut in Atlanta. You never know. I'm leaning to agree with you. I think Carson Wentz's days of being a starter are done, but I think he goes to the right situation in Kansas City where he can just be a backup. And here's the deal. Kansas City can use Carson Wentz because he's a big dude. You can use him. That they used to call it the Blake dozer, where they'd have a Blake Bell line up under center and take that direct snap. And if you're wondering why, is that they tried doing a direct snap with Patrick Mahomes, and they did it, and he messed up his knee. His knee was like off to the side. Luckily, when they put it back into place, he did heal, but he was out for several weeks. So the Chiefs are like, well, yeah, you're never doing that. Matter of fact, it was after his MVP year. There was a clip, and it was like 3 miles away from my old apartment. Patrick Mahomes was playing basketball, and he's like doing all these moves and stuff because he played basketball in high school, and he's just playing at the gym. And Chiefs are like, nah, fuck that, no, you're done playing basketball, and they put that into his contract, like no off season sports, so, but yeah, Carson Wentz could be used as 4th and 1 doing a quarterback sneak. They can use him. They can use him. Man, good eating salad, man. Murray need to put in the work on the playbook doing film study. And I have a feeling Desmond Ridder does all those things, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Tune's a scout guy. Desmond Ritter is a guy. I loved the Desmond Ritter coming out of Cincinnati. That was my favorite quarterback. I thought Atlanta. I remember he sat his rookie year, and then they just kept going back and forth with him and Heineke, and they actually just signed Heineke. He's going to take a pay cut, but he's going to stay there as to back up the Cousins, which I think is a great move by Atlanta, by the way. But Desmond Ritter's a guy that if he just keeps his head down and works hard, I could see him being a guy that, look, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many games did Kyler Murray play? I mean, before the ACL injury, he didn't play a full season. I mean, he's always a guy that's kind of a high risk factor to miss a few games. Going to Arizona may be a godsend for Desmond Ritter. I think it's a great spot. Maybe Tate. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, that might be it. But here's the deal: at 12, because you don't have a second round pick, would you really want to get a quarterback and have him struggle and then say, okay, in 2025, we'll put some things together, or do you seriously? I mean, do you just say, hey, look, we'll add, and then a guy like Jared Goff, I think, would be perfect in Sean Payton's system. I mean, keep in mind Ben Johnson, even though I thought he was going to leave this year, maybe he leaves next year. So exactly. Yeah. Burrow, every other year, Burrow gets hurt. Every other year, Burrow gets hurt. And that's why a good backup quarterback's key. And that's one thing, if you noticed, what Kansas City's done every single year that they've had Patrick Mahomes, they've had a veteran quarterback with some starting experience, because quarterbacks do get hurt. You don't want a young – I hear this from a lot of people like, oh, let's just draft this rookie quarterback and he can learn. You don't want a guy learning as your backup quarterback, because quarterbacks get hurt. I had somebody once tell me he didn't think Favre was that good of a quarterback. It was just that he played this long period of time. You know how hard it is to play, 17 straight years, not missing a game at the quarterback position? You realize how hard that is? Guys, every quarterbacks get hurt. How many starting quarterbacks went down this year? I think it was a record. I remember Jake Browning took over, and I was like, season's over. And Gooch was like, well, you never know, Dan. I was like, nope, season's over. And then Jake Browning started playing well, and I'm like, Keys came on the show, and he called Joe Burrow a system quarterback. He's not that good. I'm joking, but he did say it, but he was tongue in cheek. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Quarterbacks get hurt. Shit does happen. Desmond Ritter to Arizona could be perfect. Carson Wentz, when he went to the Rams, he looked pretty good. I actually thought maybe that'd be a place he would stay. Baker Mayfield, when he went to Rams, it looked good. He parlayed that into a nice job with Tampa. Tampa, I think, did a smart thing keeping him there. Nobody anticipated Cleveland going through 4 quarterbacks. Nobody saw that coming. Perry says that's why you need to protect your quarterback with a good O-line. Well, that's what teams are doing. And that's the reason why I have the Chiefs passing up a wide receiver for an offensive lineman in the first round. That's why I think the Chiefs are better off trying to fix the offensive line than add to the wide receiving core. And also they got Hollywood Brown, who I think would be a nice addition. I think a really, really solid addition. So to me, it doesn't make any sense to bring in Hollywood Brown and draft a first round player when you lost your starting left tackle to free agency, and Donovan Smith wasn't the best left tackle in football anyway. So Keaton Talks Sports, who I by the way, encourage you to check out his mock draft. Now, Keaton sent me a DM and he says, Dan, your mock draft's way better than mine. And it is. No, I'm joking. And, but he has a really, really, really good video. It's really good. I think mine's better, but his is really good. So I encourage you to check it out. Keaton also says that he's jealous about how better looking I am than he is. But hopefully me and Keaton can do a live first round mock draft here in the near future. Keaton says he's down. I know Big Chief Sean, he wants to do it. Keaton's dream is having a threesome with 2 other guys. I'm here to make dreams happen. Keaton says, do you think the Bills trade Stephon Diggs before the season starts? It's definitely a possibility. By the way, that was the best chance the Bills had to win a Super Bowl is that divisional game. You had your arch rival beat Josh Allen. Go back, watch that game. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl was also good. There's probably not 5 performances in NFL postseason history where a quarterback played better in a loss than Josh Allen. The next year they lose to Cincinnati, which was a massive upset. And then this last year, of course, they lost to Kansas City, even though the game was in Buffalo. And by the way, I have in my mock draft, I do have the Bills taking a receiver in round 2. And I have Xavier Legette as a guy that normal situations, he wouldn't be available at 60. But if I'm Buffalo, I would really consider it. And I think there's a few teams out there that would really welcome Diggs. I think there's a few teams out there that would really welcome Diggs. If I'm Buffalo, I trade him to an NFC team, but I'll give you a dark horse. Maybe it's not that much of a dark horse, but a team like Dallas gets on the same team with his brother. Brendan Cooks wasn't the same guy. Jalen Tolbert, their 3rd round pick from a couple of years ago, hasn't panned out yet. That might be a really good spot for him. So, I to answer your question, Keaton, the answer is possibly. I have no idea how the Bills are thinking because I could easily see Buffalo going. Because here's the deal: they don't have a pick in the 3rd round, but they got several in rounds. I think they have 2 in the 4th, like 3 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th. They put themselves in a position where they can make this team better. Through the draft, but I mean they lost so much, man. God, they lost a lot. So it's hard for me to look at Buffalo but inside the building they may be drinking the Kool-Aid. They just may be going, yeah, we beat Kansas City 3 times in the regular season. We're a better team. Sometimes this happens in all walks of life. It happens with all things. Sometimes what's obvious on the outside is not obvious in the building. Years ago, matter of fact, Keaton Talks Sports, I'm going to pick on him a little bit. He's a young guy. When I was a young dude, there's an expression, can't turn a hoe into a housewife. I tried to do that. I had friends, I had coworkers, family members, and they're like, Dan, you're gotta move on. And years later, I looked at that situation like, what was I thinking? The Bills might need to blow up that team and say, look, I got my quarterback. I got Pro Bowl running back. Let's build. And by the way, they have a lot of draft picks. Look what the Rams did. The Rams got like, what was it, like 5-6 starters in last year's draft? Maybe the Rams are thinking, or maybe the Bills are thinking the same thing. That's what I want to do, Perry, is I want to have a group of 3 and all 3 of us take a pick. But I was also thinking it might be fun if we have like if one person makes a pick, if the other 2 can veto the pick. So that's kind of why I was thinking. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, is that I kind of want to have, I would like to have 3 and all 3 of us take a turn. And then the way I would do it is that Keaton's a Patriots fan. So obviously he would have the number 3 pick. And then Big Chief Sean, I'm a Chiefs fan too, but Big Chief Sean, I would have him make the selection at 32. And with 3 people, there's a possibility we could do a trade as well. You know, you could say, hey, look, I'm going to make a trade, you know, and that's kind of why I want to have 3 people instead of just me and Keaton. But me and Keaton are more incapable of just doing like, since the Patriots pick 3 and Kinsey picks 32, I could do evens, he could do odds. So, and I could see this happening. Well, you know what? Their defense played really well, and they had a bunch of players that didn't work out. And then when they tried to trade with New England said, we're not going to trade a division rival. We'll trade with Kansas City. So Kansas City got Trent McDuffie. A few picks later, the Bills got Clear Elam. And they tried to pretend, oh, Elam's guy we're trading up for. And everybody knows bullshit. And then he wasn't even good enough to start. I think he did have an interception in the playoffs, but Elam really hasn't panned out. He was a guy I really liked out of Florida, too. I thought would fit in good with McDermott's defense. Their defense did play well, but Von Miller, I don't think, had a sack. What was the contract? 6 years, $120 million, 5 years, $120. I mean, you still got to give him. I think he did a restructure, but he's still expensive, and he's not the same dude. Their defense was good, but I mean, look how many players they lost. Can you fix all that in the draft? Are you going into the season going, okay, our defense isn't going to be as good, but our offense is going to be better? I mean, look at what you did. You have Osiris Torrance, one of my favorite offensive linemen. You got him in the second round. He played good. I think he could be better. I think he could be a Pro Bowl player next year. Dalton Kincaid didn't have the impact Sean Laporta did, but I had him rated significantly higher in the draft. Dalton Kincaid's a guy I think could be the number 1 receiver in Buffalo this year with or without Diggs. Not much. If I'm being really honest, here, let me figure this out real fast here, because I'm looking at Dallas as a team that is kind of in win now mode that would really welcome Diggs. And I'm drawing a blank. So Dallas has a 3rd, but they don't have a 4th. I'll be honest with you. I'm thinking 4th, but Dallas, who picks 87th, that might be where you're looking at. And the reason why is that this is such a deep wide receiver draft that I think Diggs' value wouldn't be very much. I really think I think 4th, to be honest. Excuse me. I think 4th, I'll be honest, but I could see Dallas giving up pick number 87 for Diggs. I could see it. And by the way, if I'm Dallas, I only do this is if I have picks for 24 and 56 ironed out. Because Dallas is a team that's like Super Bowl or bust, and they've said that every year. So that's why I could see them hey, look, if we don't do a wide receiver in rounds 1 or 2, what about Diggs in the 3rd round? And by the way, maybe they move on from Jalen Tolbert or Brendan Cooks. So, Corey, man, it's always good to see you, man. You DM me. I appreciate your comments in the chat. I also appreciate you DMing me. Let me know what you think. I also really, really appreciate you watching my video. Watch the video, guys. This is one of my mock draft best videos. Bills need help at corner. The Gene would fit nicely, but I doubt he falls down that far. I mocked, so in my mock draft, I mocked. I'm drawing them. So in my mock draft, I have Byron Murphy instead of the Gene. Because I think McDermott, who's always run kind of that Tampa 2 system, has a higher priority on defensive line than they would at corner. And by the way, Byron Murphy in a lot of mock drafts doesn't drop all the way to 28, but Cooper DeJean doesn't fall in most mock drafts all the way to 29, where I have him falling, and it's a combination of good value, and I think Detroit needs help in their secondary. I don't know if Detroit takes a player at 29, but I think somewhere in their draft they draft a defensive back, and that's kind of, I think DeJean, even though I'd call him a corner, he could do multiple things in Detroit. So. But yeah, I could see Cooper DeJean being a fit in Buffalo as well. I really do. And when I did my mock, there were several places I wanted to put Cooper DeJean, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out. I heard Corey, if you paid attention, Corey, he said, if I'm picking at 27, I want to trade up for Jared Verse, even though I think it's a great move. Corey said, I'd rather have Cooper the Gene at 27 and keep my 3 third-round draft picks as the same. So, could this season be McDermott's last year of the Bills? Absolutely. Yeah. Not only this could be his last year. There was lots of talk about Mike Tomlin stepping down. I'll be honest. I saw the writing on the wall of New England. I didn't see Pete Carroll going, but Mike McCarthy could be gone. We mentioned Brian Dable with New York, but absolutely. And by the way, Buffalo could have a good year. Buffalo could do the same thing they did last year, go 11-6. Win one division or one wild card game and lose in the division round, and they just say, hey, look, we're going to move on. I'm going to put it, because I'm going to put it at almost a coin flip. Even with success, this could be McDermott's last year, because the Bills may be thinking the same thing that you're thinking, that they just need to blow this up, and I can see it happening. I really could see it happening. I could see them going, you know what? We got this superstar quarterback. We drafted this Pro Bowl running back in the 2nd round, but we got an aging defense. You know what? I'm leaving off. I said his name and I'm already forgetting it. Dalton Kincaid. We have a potential superstar tight end. In Dalton Kincaid, we have Dalvin Cook, we have Josh Allen. Let's get an offensive-minded guy and kind of reboot. Keys said, you know what? Let me ask you this: who's better head coach, Sean McDermott or Bill Belichick? So. No good coaches will go to the Cowboys until Jerry Jones is not. Aaron! We got the A in the Back Talk Brothers coming in. He goes, hey, Dan, Red Sea, Perry Keaton, in one pride, man. Yeah, I got some love here today. Aaron, very good to hear from you. If you haven't had a chance, please, please, please watch my mock draft video. The 2-3 round mock drafts I have in the video, they're only going to be around for a few more days, but I'd love for you to know what I have the Chiefs doing in round 3, which it's not in the video, but I have it in the link below. Love what your opinion is there. So, but it's a fantastic video. It's a fantastic video, so please check it out if you haven't already. Seriously, this is not as unlikely as you may think, because I can see the Giants, things not working out with the Giants, and the reason why it's not is partly you can blame Dable. Daniel Jones isn't the guy, and I could see the Giants saying that we're going to move on from Dable. And I could see the Bills saying we're going to move on from Sean Dermott. And I got to think that, hey, look, Josh Allen's best years was with Dable. Seriously, it wouldn't even surprise me if both teams just flip coaches and you bring in McDermott. And keep in mind, if things don't work and Dable does get fired, you're drafting a quarterback. And then Sean McDermott would be like, hey, look, I won with a rookie quarterback at Josh Allen. Kind of weird because he had Dable, but I could see that happening. But yeah, Dable. I could see him getting fired by the Giants and getting hired by the Bills. So, yeah. Yeah, Keys is jealous of my hair, good looks, and my awesome draft video. Yeah, if you haven't yet, it's so depending on your break, it's a long video, but I did put chapters in there. So if you want to just skip to the Chiefs picks, you can. And then in the description, I put the links to both my 3-round mock drafts. Now, rounds 1 and 2 are exactly the same, but rounds 3 is where I do some things that are different. No trades in round 3 because it's just time consuming. My next mock draft video, I'm not sure if I do 3 rounds in a trade. I'll have to change the format up because making that video just took a long time, and I'm not sure how I want to do the next video, but I may just do round 1. I like the idea of some trades. But I haven't figured it out yet. I honestly haven't figured it out yet. So we'll have to see. Yeah, I do. Thank you. By the way, please watch all of it. But in the video, I do have chapters, so you can go to your favorite team and just check it out. And I did mark all the trades, so you can check out the trades. The only thing I didn't mark in there, and I really wanted to hear. Oh God, I can't believe I forgot his name. My buddy who's a Houston Texans fan. I do have T. Higgins going to Houston in a trade. So, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Please check out my mock draft video. I'll be back Friday. I'm going to do my best to see if I can get either Big Chief Sean and or Keaton Talk Sports either Friday or next Tuesday. We'll do a live mock draft. By the way, in my link below, all my social media links. Still fighting with Facebook. I created a dummy Facebook account, but anyway, I'm having some issues. But you can hit me up on either Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram. You can DM me. Send me a friend request. I usually accept all friend requests, and or you can I think you can message me without. But send me a friend request. Send me messages. I check them all. And love to hear from you. Do check out my mock draft. It's a fantastic video. I really encourage it. It is one of my better videos, so please check it out. It's a little longer because I did 2 rounds with trades, and I give you some bonus 3rd round picks that I really, really liked. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining. I will be back Friday. Same time, same channel. See everybody back on Friday.